The algorithm that knows you better than you know yourself. It is 2:17 a.m. You are lying in bed. The room is dark. Your phone screen is the only light. You tell yourself you will stop scrolling in 5 minutes. You have been telling yourself that for 45 minutes. You do not know why you are still here, but something else does. Right now, an invisible system is watching every fraction of a second your eyes linger on a photo. It is measuring the exact moment your thumb slows down before a headline. It is logging the gap between when you open an app and when you finally put your phone down. It is not guessing. It is not estimating. It is building a model of you, more accurate, more detailed, and more honest than anything you have ever written in a journal. This is not science fiction. This is Tuesday night. And the question that should keep you awake, the one more unsettling than anything on that screen, is this. If a machine already knows your fears, your cravings, your emotional weak spots better than you do, what does that mean for the future of your choices, for your identity, for the very concept of free will? That is what this video is about. Not the surface level, social media is bad for you conversation. Not another warning about screen time. This is about the architecture of prediction, about how algorithms were built to understand human psychology, not to serve you, but to model you, and about what happens when the machine's map of who you are becomes more accurate than your own. Let's start at the beginning. In 2012, a team of researchers at Facebook ran an experiment. They did not ask for permission. They quietly adjusted the news feeds of nearly 700,000 users, showing some people more positive content, others more negative content, to study whether emotions could be transferred through a digital platform without any face-to-face interaction. The results were published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. They found that yes, your emotional state could be shifted by what an algorithm chose to show you, without a single human conversation, without a smile or a frown or a tone of voice, just content, curated by code. The researchers called it emotional contagion. The public, when they eventually found out, called it something else entirely. But here is the part that gets buried in the outrage. The algorithm did not need to understand your emotions to manipulate them. It only needed data. Massive, relentless, granular data. And in that gap between understanding and prediction lies the most important truth about modern AI. It does not need to know who you are. It just needs to know what you do next. You have probably heard the word algorithm 1,000 times. Most people imagine it as a simple sorting system, a recipe for ranking posts, a formula for matching buyers and sellers. But that mental image is dangerously out of date. Modern recommendation algorithms are not rule-based systems. They are not following a checklist written by a programmer in 2009. They are neural networks, deep learning systems, structures loosely modeled on the human brain, layers upon layers of pattern recognition, trained not on instructions but on outcomes. Their only instruction is, keep the user engaged. Their only teacher is, did it work? In plain English, these systems are not told what to do. They are trained on what works. And after trillions of interactions, what works is often deeply uncomfortable to look at directly. In 2017, researcher Guillaume Chaslot, a former engineer at YouTube, blew the whistle on something he called the rabbit hole phenomenon. He revealed that YouTube's recommendation algorithm had been optimized for one thing above all: watch time. Not accuracy, not well-being, not truth. Time spent watching. And what kept people watching longest? Increasingly extreme content, increasingly emotional content, content that triggered outrage, fear, and fascination. The exact 3 emotional states that make it hardest to look away. The algorithm did not choose this because it was malicious. It chose this because it worked. Because your brain, the same brain that evolved over 2 million years to detect predators and remember tribal threats, responds more intensely to danger than to calm. The algorithm found that lever, and it pressed it over and over. Now here is where it gets personal. Imagine waking up one morning 5 years from now. Your AI assistant has already reviewed your sleep data, your calendar, and your recent purchase history. Before you have said a single word, it has predicted that today you are likely to feel anxious. A 74% probability. based on 847 behavioral patterns collected over the past 3 months. It adjusts the music it plays you while you make coffee. It slightly reorders the emails you see first. It delays the notification about your overdue bill by 4 hours, waiting for a window when your cortisol levels, estimated from wearable data, tend to dip. You feel strangely calm, strangely managed, but you do not know why. Because the system that knows you best operates entirely beneath your awareness. This is not speculation. The scaffolding already exists. In a landmark 2015 study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, researchers Michal Kosinski, David Stilwell, and Thor Grapel demonstrated that an AI model trained on Facebook likes alone could predict human personality traits with greater accuracy than a person's coworkers, friends, family members, and in some cases, even their own spouse. Not with deep conversation, not with years of relationship, with likes. The digital equivalent of a thumbs up. That is how little raw data a trained model needs to build a detailed portrait of your psychological interior. The 5 personality dimensions they measured, openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, are the same framework professional psychologists use to evaluate human character, and the algorithm beat humans at reading them. Every time. Let's pause and make something very clear. This is not an argument that technology is evil. It is not a call to delete your apps and move to a cabin in the mountains. That is not the point. The point is this. You are operating with an outdated map of how you are being seen. Most people assume they are anonymous inside their devices. They assume their data is just numbers, disconnected, impersonal, meaningless, without context. But the science tells a different story. Your behavioral data is not just data. It is a mirror that is, in some measurable ways, more accurate than the one you look into every morning. Philosopher Nick Bostrom at Oxford University has written extensively about what he calls the intelligence explosion, the moment at which artificial systems surpass human-level capability at modeling complex systems. Most people imagine this applies to chess or mathematics or medical diagnosis. Few people consider that the most complex system any AI could attempt to model is a single human being, and the data to do that is already being collected. Every hour, on every device you own. Here is a question worth sitting with. You wake up and you want coffee. Is that your desire? Or is it the result of 10,000 repeated cues, conditioned over years, now automated by your neurology? You feel drawn to check your notifications the moment you wake up. Is that your choice? Or a behavioral loop reinforced thousands of times until it became invisible? The philosopher Daniel Kahneman spent decades studying the gap between the decisions people think they are making and the decisions they are actually making. His work, summarized in his landmark book, Thinking Fast and Slow, describes 2 systems of thought. System 1 is fast, automatic, emotional. System 2 is slow, deliberate, rational. And here is the uncomfortable truth. The vast majority of your daily behavior is run by System 1. You are not driving your choices as much as you think. You are being carried by them. Now imagine handing a copy of your System 1 rule book to a machine. Imagine that machine reverse engineering every trigger, every reward loop, every fear response, not to understand you, but to predict you, to stay one step ahead of your next impulse, to place the exact right piece of content in front of you at the exact moment your resistance is lowest. That is what modern behavioral AI does, and it is extraordinarily good at it. In 2018, the Cambridge Analytica scandal cracked open a window into just how deep this rabbit hole goes. Researcher Christopher Wiley revealed that political consultants had harvested the psychological profile data of up to 87 million Facebook users without their consent, and used that data to build micro-targeted political messaging. Not one message for everyone. Hundreds of different versions of the same message, each calibrated to a specific psychological profile, designed to resonate with your specific fear, your specific identity threat, your specific hope. People did not receive propaganda. They received a version of the world carefully sculpted to match the exact shape of their inner life, and most of them believed it was simply the news. This is the power of knowing someone better than they know themselves, not to help them, but to move them. But here is the counterintuitive twist. This same technology, this same capacity to model human psychology at scale, is also the most powerful tool for human empowerment ever built. If you understand how you are being modeled, you can begin to model yourself. If you know the levers being pulled, you can choose which ones to allow. Awareness is the antidote to automation. There is a growing field called AI-assisted self-knowledge, the use of personal behavioral data, not to be exploited by corporations, but to be understood by the individual. Researchers like B.J. Fogg at Stanford University, who developed behavioral design theory, argue that understanding your own behavioral triggers is the foundation of real personal change. And now, the tools to map those triggers more accurately than ever before exist. The question is not whether the algorithm knows you. It already does. The question is whether you know yourself well enough to make that matter. Picture this. It is 5 years from now. Two people wake up. Both have access to the same AI systems. Both are being observed, modeled, predicted. The first person drifts. They follow the recommendation. They accept the nudge. They consume what is placed in front of them, not realizing that every choice is being shaped by a system built not for their growth, but for their engagement. They are not a user. They are the product, and they have no idea. The second person knows the game. They have studied how prediction engines work. They understand their own behavioral loops, and they have begun to consciously redesign them. They use AI not as a mirror that flatters, but as a tool that reveals. They are not being automated. They are automating. This is the new divide. Not rich versus poor. Not educated versus uneducated. It is those who understand the architecture of prediction, and those who live inside it, invisible to themselves. Organizations like Pinnacle AI Solutions exist precisely at this frontier, helping individuals and businesses not just adopt AI tools, but develop the strategic intelligence to use them intentionally, rather than being used by them. In a world where the algorithm knows you, the most powerful skill is knowing the algorithm back. So where does this leave you? The science is clear. The data is already collected. The models are already running. An AI system trained on your digital behavior can predict your emotional state, your political leanings, your financial decisions, your relationship stability, sometimes before you have consciously formed them yourself. This is not a future threat. It is a present condition. The only variable is what you do with that knowledge. You can scroll past this. Return to the feed. Let the 2 a.m. algorithm make the next choice for you. Or you can sit with the discomfort of this question. Really sit with it and ask yourself, how well do I actually know me? And what would change if I knew myself as well as the machine already does? It is 2:17 a.m. Your phone screen is the only light in the room. And for the first time tonight, you are the one who is watching.